Hello everybody, welcome back to Blessed Away the Game Review. I'm your host, Dustin Murphy. Today, I am proud to announce we are back with Warframe. Not just one of those, we're going to do a few tutorials here and there. Not one of those, we're just going to discuss one or two Warframes a month. Our goal is we actually want to get between 2 and 3 tutorials out a week. So, this week, we're going to be starting off with both Mag and Cora. Cora will be coming later this week, hopefully Friday morning is when we plan to have that uploaded. But since we are here for Mag, let's discuss this newly updated tutorial for Mag, which actually discusses all of her enhanced features and the new features that she's obtained. First is her ability Pull. Pull is Mag's ability to reach out with her power and pull enemies towards her into either you or your friendly Tenno, allowing you to work together and disperse enemy crowds very quickly by keeping them under control. Then we have her ability Magnetize, which is her second ability that allows her to generate an orb of magnetism around a specified target, drawing all friendly and enemy incoming fire. But this ability has something rather unique with it. It can be comboed with her next ability, Polarize. Polarize is Mag's ability to polarize enemies, making them so that they are magnetically charged by dispersing their shields. This allows Mag to not just disperse their shields, but even generate shields as needed. Now, the one thing you will want to consider when using this ability is it is best used against shielded enemies and when comboed with Magnetize. Next, we have Crush, which is Mag's ultimate ability, allowing her to take large groups of enemies and crushing them. But there's an awesome part about that ability we'll discuss later, which is her ability to generate shields with it. So as you can see here, I've decided to use a closed test environment where I can target large crowds of enemies, not worrying about what my teammates are doing, so I can just concentrate on pulling enemies consistently, pulling them in so I can get them in melee range or range for my rifle, and dealing massive amounts of damage rather quickly while they're completely incapable of fighting back. While this does sound like it's a awesome ability to use, which it really is, you do have to consider the fact that you can actually overwhelm yourself quite easily if you're not using this as intended. And unfortunately, this is going to be happening a lot more with, say, the Corrupted or the Infested, so definitely keep that in mind when using Pull. Now, next up, we're going to be talking about her ability Magnetize. If you remember this ability, it's the one that I talked about where she creates a bubble around a specified target, one that you have locked in on by aiming on them, and then generating a magnetic orb around them that absorbs enemy and your fire. So your fire and enemy fire combined to damage them over time while they're in it. But there's also something you need to know about this ability. When done, it explodes. So if you're using mods, say like duration mods, this is going to be the best example. Don't use them. You don't want to shorten it, but you don't want to lengthen this ability's duration. You want to keep this ability right where it's at. 15 seconds is an amazing timer. It allows you to do massive amounts of damage, get a good control on an area so that enemies aren't hitting you from that direction, and creating more orbs so that you can keep enemies magnetized within these fields. Now, this also does create a small problem. Say your enemies are on a point and you need it cleared quickly. Well, you can't specifically target them while they're inside of this area. Unfortunately, this does mean with Magnetize, you can't directly fire for headshots, you can't directly fire for body shots. It's completely random on where they're going to be hit. So do keep that in mind when you're throwing down multiple Magnetize bubbles on specified targets. Now, there is something a little unique when it comes to Magnetize. You want to use rapid fire weaponry. I'm talking you want to use stuff like I have, which is the Brat and Prime. You want these weapons so that you can get more damage out of those orbs and quickly. Now, there is something really cool about Magnetize. Let alone does it trap enemies within it. It's good for controlling big enemies like, say, a Bursa or something of that sort. It's great for that. I've used it quite a few times for that, but it's not effective against enemies, say, like the Stalker or bosses. It unfortunately just isn't that great. It's not smart to use against them, and it's only really good for controlling enemy fire and your own fire while keeping a good ground control ability out on the field. Now, this does mean you still can combo it very successfully with our next ability that we're going to discuss, which is her ability Polarize. If you remember right, just as it's going to show on screen, Polarize is Mag's ability to send out an aura into the combat field around her. This means more range, more duration, the better. But again, because of the ability Magnetize, you really don't want to use duration cards. You don't want to lessen the duration, you don't want to lengthen it. So keep in mind that the radius is going to be the big thing. You want it to go out as far as you can, so cards like Stretch are great for her. They allow her to have wider range, but also more damage because of that range, especially when you combo Magnetize and Polarize together, using Magnetize to create a field of damage that's going to absorb the polarized shards that are generated. So let's take a look at what Polarize can do, and then here in a bit we're actually going to take a look at comboing both Magnetize and Polarize together. So you may be caught a bit off guard, especially when first learning this ability combo, because these really do benefit each other. So remember, when you combo them, Magnetize, Polarize, Magnetize, Polarize, mostly for the fact that you're going to create shards in that area, and Magnetize is going to take advantage of those shards, allowing you to create these fields of just mind-blowing damage. Now, as you can see here on screen, I'm simply just chaining my Magnetize together. I'm just constantly casting it. I'm just going out, hitting multiple enemies with it, using it to whittle down their shields and allowing me to damage them as much as possible. Now, one thing you may want to take into consideration when using an ability like Polarize is it does generate shields for you. So the more damage it deals, the more shields you get. Now, you combo that with Crush, and you're going to have a lot of shields by the time you're done with the mission, especially when working with friendly Tenno. Now, the worst thing that you can actually do is run out of energy, especially while trying to stay alive. And as you can see here, I'm having to use energy pads, I'm having to use shield generation pads just to keep myself alive, because I'm going up against enemies I wasn't expecting to use. And unfortunately, that is one of Mag's shortcomings, is while she does have great control, she just doesn't have the survivability from time to time when going against enemies like the Bursa, which, as you can see there, I actually did Magnetize and Polarize together. Now, the one thing that you may want to remember is when you actually Polarize, if they are already in your Magnetize and their shields have regenerated, Polarize again. You're going to create shards. Shards mean damage. Shards also mean Magnetize is just blowing up enemies. As you saw there just seconds ago, I was using Polarize and Magnetize together, but in the opposite order, so I could deal more damage, take out the bursts a little more quickly, which just made it so that Mag was seemingly overpowered and just dishing out ungodly amounts of damage. Now, her final ability is her ultimate ability. It's called Crush. Crush is approximately 100 before you have any efficiency mods enabled. So, with her, you want to remember, plenty of energy is going to be your best friend. Power cards to enhance her damage are going to be your best friends. So keep that in mind when modding her. Now, Crush, what it does is, within an area, the more range you have, even better, by the way. So in this wide area that you want to create, she's going to lift all enemies around her and use her magnetic capabilities to crush them, which let alone does it deal damage, it also allows Mag to generate shields for both you and your friendly players. So remember, great group ability, get your group members near you, crush. If their shields are low, keep crushing. As long as you have energy, great. So remember, efficiency and power are going to be your best friends with her, especially since she has an extremely large energy pool compared to most Warframes in the game. Now, you're going to be able to notice that this scene is going to be a little shorter, especially since Crush does exactly what I said it does. It grabs massive groups of enemies and crushes them, but at 100 energy approximately before efficiency cards, which means you can run through a 500-600 energy pool very quickly. But as you see here, plenty of shields. So perfect for group missions, especially high level missions. All you have to remember, crush equals shields and lots of damage. Now I do want to talk about that combo I mentioned just a little bit ago, the Magnetize Polarize combo. You saw me use it against the Bursas. When you combo Magnetize and Polarize together, so you're going to, if you're curious, you're going to magnetize a target, polarize. What this does, again, it creates shards inside of your Magnetize, which allows you to deal a lot more damage. It allows you to create massive amounts of burst damage inside of your Magnetize, but also, if you do Polarize first, it allows Magnetize to suck enemies into your Magnetize. So it has double benefits. Let alone does it cause Magnetize to do more damage, Polarize also causes enemies to get sucked into your Magnetize, causing just a massive amount of crowd control. And fortunately for you and any player who plays her, this also means enemies are going to be dispersed rather quickly, and you won't have to worry about taking on enemy fire. Now, the other added benefit to this is when you Magnetize and then Polarize, or Polarize and Magnetize, whichever way you prefer to do it, enemies that don't die inside a Magnetize, you can use Crush to crush them and generate shields for your entire squad. So, keeping that in mind, you have one of the most advanced and one of the most powerful Warframes in the game that can actually get the job done and very quickly. As you can see here, XP popped up on the screen, enemies died, Magnetize sucked in a few enemies into one of the bubbles off screen, and luckily for us, cleared out the wave quite quickly. Now, the one thing I'm going to warn is, don't expect it to always work. I have noticed that inside of Magnetize bubbles, it does seem to have a limit on how many enemies can be drawn into it. Now, I do want to make a quick note in this tutorial. I am not using augment mods. This is just straight up some of the beginner mods and natural talent. So, you know, increasing my power, I've increased my efficiency. That's all I've done. Streamline, Blind Rage will eventually go into my build, but very base mods, stuff that you can get right off the back. You don't have to worry about farming, getting end level tier mods, and you don't have to worry about all the polarization that you would normally have to do. So a great character, and once you learn how to use pull, magnetize, polarize, and crush, and just alternate them in, which one of my tactics is, I like to pull the group, magnetize while they're being pulled, and then polarizing them so that if they don't go inside of Magnetize, they get drawn in, and then I can just pop crush, clear out any stragglers that there are, and move on with my business. But also the added benefit of controlling enemy fire, making it so that it's safer for my friendly squad members, and upping their shield capacity, so they have quite a bit more shields past what their base shields already are. I've generated excess damage absorption for them, in short. Now, one place that I've found that Mag also shines big time is if you're fighting against the corrupted, because they do have plenty of shields, they do have some armor depending on the enemies. Mag is great for controlling defense missions. She's great for creating choke points in survival missions, which ultimately is almost what you seemingly want to do with her. And fortunately, this is actually really awesome, especially in this mission. As you can see, crushed, generated some shields. My entire team's shields just topped off, especially because I grabbed such a large crowd using stretch. I don't have anything else on for distance because I don't want any negative stats, especially with her recent buffs. Now I can use mod cards to counteract a debuff, but the issue here is the debuff is still there. You know, she's got negative percentage, which in the long run for a character like Mag, or Warframe like Mag rather, you don't want those negative stats. You want to keep positive stats, so, you know, use stretch, use anything really, you know, streamline any of those. I personally went for streamline. I went for stretch, a couple others, you know, including my ability power, which allowed me to overall create a really powerful mag. Now, I will be doing another tutorial later on, which will be an advanced modding tutorial. Don't expect it this week. First off, we're going to just work on getting new tutorials out, getting you acquainted with Warframe once again, especially on our channel. I do apologize that this has taken so long to get out to you all. I do want to thank DE so much for their past support, and I really hope they like these new guides, and I hope you all like these new guides as well. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. We have decided to disable search for our old video, and welcome to our new tutorial to mag. If you have any questions, again, leave them in the comments. I'm your host here at Blast Away the Game Review, Dustin Murphy, and we will see you Friday with a core guide.